Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah,
I
so
guess.
I honestly, Nick, what was happening is I was hole punching some papers, and then out of nowhere, the whole like finger like locked up, and I couldn't actually. Unbelievable. I don't know
Oh,
what is happening here because I think it's my finger because I will be probably pressing odd buttons the entire show because I
so
don't.
what you're saying is today you are the April Fool.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that because it's not April yet, Nick.
Well, you're just getting ready early. I mean, there's
Well,
nothing wrong with preparation, getting ahead, proactivity.
I mean, I don't know how I feel about that, but I'll I'll say that I feel a little bit bad about my finger, and I assumed that it might feel better sooner than later, but I guess not.
Well, I
So
I'm sure it'll be better in a couple
yeah, I
days.
mean,
If
you know what you do when you feel down in the dumps, Nick.
you drink
I
some
mean,
soju.
oh no, because I don't want to do that because that might actually make things a little bit worse right now because I think that like that might cause more blood vessels to burst maybe if I drink too much soju. I mean, what do you think, Nick?
Maybe you're
Haven't you heard
drinking.
of anything like that?
Maybe the reason it happened is because you're drinking too much soju.
Well, I don't know what that has to do with the. I don't know what that has to do with the like the finger all of a sudden
I don't
having
either.
issues.
I don't either.
So you know what, Nick? What I will say is that it is a time for our opening music, but I have
All
no
right.
idea what is happening with the anything else except that
Oh, there we
it,
go. Okay.
I feel like people, uh, of course, like love the opening music. At least I like it.
I do too. And John, by the way, you have to change your name to your the proper name.
Well, yeah, if I can with this finger problem that I've been having.
Well, just one finger with the other hand.
Yeah, okay. I'll try to make a change
All right.
while the music
Okay.
is playing.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Welcome to Funniest Part of My Name, a podcast about math and Korean culture, with a side of humor. For information about our podcast, please visit www.johnoaks.com.
And now here are your hosts, 프로페서 승찬 and Nick. 하하하.
Well, Nick, let's say hello to our guest, Bree. How are you, Bree?
I'm doing
Bree?
good. Hi.
Yeah, let's see. Did I get my name right, Nick?
The trickster. Yeah, that works for today.
Yeah, for today's show, I
Yeah.
think that's probably not a bad a bad name, right? Because it's the April Fool's
Yeah.
Day special. But I think that before we get to the jokes and the trivia, let's go to the news for a little while. And so let's see. I do like to, as you know, Nick, give a little summary every week of the latest news, just so that um, that the listeners who may not know what has happened in the world in the last week or uh, know what's going on, right? And I'll say that as things go by every week, the number of people I personally know who have left social media and like all all of the news sites altogether for the most part has grown because of all of the really bad news every week. And so um, a week ago, like during the show, Nick, you actually told me about the first story that we're going to uh, are going to be talking about, because it was all unfolding a week ago. But last week in uh, in Colorado, a man shot uh, 10 people at King Super's grocery store, and that included a young employee of the supermarket, a retiree working for Instacart, an owner of a local yoga store who recently got engaged, and a veteran of the local police department who had rushed to the scene when the news of the shooting got to the police. And so the shooter, and I'll say that I really like I really want to like avoid saying his name, because I don't want to give this person any more credit than they or attention than they already have, because it's so bad what this person has done. Uh, but um, but the investigators into this mass shooting have not uh, established a motive, but people who knew the suspect say he was short-tempered and prone to fits of violent rage. So, so that's the background of what happened. But uh, Bree, why don't we start with you, and what are your thoughts on the shooting last week, and violence at malls and at stores, and all of this senseless like murder and mass shootings that have not just went on last week, but I and I have had such a bad day with my finger that I was trying to look up all of this the facts again. But I think last week when I checked, there have been 128 mass shootings in the U.S. since January 1st of this year, and so this is only one of those many mass shootings. And so I do think that the the government probably does have some pressure to take action, but I don't think that it should necessarily all be in the government's hands to decide what is right for the people who live in this country, and what is going to like stop the violence against innocent people. But anyway, I know that I've said too much, but I would like to like just open it up to you, Bree,
Oh,
to just give your insight uh, into the recent events.
well, it's been interesting for me. I actually live in Ohio, which is an open carry state. And I am like the job that I worked at previously, one of the dads almost even walked in with a gun on him. They actually have to put on the store, like on the kids' haircut place, no guns, no weapons allowed. So it's a very, yeah, everybody has guns here. And I've grown up around guns my whole entire life. Like my grandparents had guns. So I don't know. It's really sad to see these mass shootings and stuff. Um, the day before the Atlanta shooting happened, our mall had a shooting, and I happened to have been there during this sense. But the crazy thing was, not only did it happen once, it happened another time before that, 2 weeks prior to that. So in 2 weeks, they had had 2 incidents of shootings within the mall. And the second time I was there with my boss, and she said she heard the gunshots. I didn't. I was on the phone, doing whatever. But we ended up just running out and stuff. And then it was just kind of terrifying. And then what was even more like weird about all of that was that the JC Penney, they actually had like a few days prior to the first shooting out of those two, they had had some training on what to do during an actual shooting. So like I guess it's like in the forefront of people's minds if they're having these types of trainings at work. We weren't a part of it because we're kind of like we're in JCPenney, but we're not a part of JCPenney. So they leave us out on it. And we have actually asked them like, well, what are we like, what is your protocol? And I don't know. I guess there's been a lot more conversation about because what do you do if we have a client in the studio with us and something happens? Or, like we were even talking about with us in the studio, like if that happens and we're all there, like we'll all leave and like meet up somewhere else type of a situation. So, and then like, it's just really sad because like Colorado happened and it's just tragic that like, I don't understand. I don't understand like the need for that. Like, I mean, I don't know. And I don't know if Colorado is an open carry. I think they are. And I think that makes a difference too.
Yes, absolutely. And what are your thoughts now, Nick?
On what in particular? I don't want to
Well,
repeat anything. Plain said.
on this particular situation in Boulder, or on the recent seemingly increase in mass shootings around the country, or on maybe like what not that we're going to solve the world's problems on the show, but maybe thoughts on like differences in the open carry and non open carry states, or if that makes a difference, or on whether workplaces should have protocols set in place, or anything that you would like to comment on, Nick.
Quite a few things there. I know the Colorado situation is still not developing, but there's more investigation. I know they don't have a firm motive yet, or any of those. At least they haven't released any of those types of details. I know what you said about the suspect. I also read that he had displayed some sort of indicative behavior, according to some witnesses. I also read that he legally possessed or legally obtained the weapon according to federal and state laws. So you do need to keep that in mind. In terms of, the carry versus the open carry versus concealed carry versus no carry, I'm typically a person who subscribes to the thought of it's not usually best practice to open carry, even if it is legal. I understand if it is legal in a given state, then you have the right to do that. I don't intend to change the interpretation of laws just because somebody wants you to. So the law is the law. If you don't like it, then you should be voting to get it changed, or doing the necessary procedures in your state or your locality to get it changed. But while they're in place, the laws still are the laws, whether you like them or not, and whatever they allow or limit is what you have to follow. Now, in terms of does open carry versus concealed carry versus no carry have an impact on gun related crimes and violence? I don't know if I don't know. I don't know enough about the statistics of one state to another that has those different regulations, whether that prevents it or not. I think there's always the old thought of, well, if there's an individual who really wants to commit a gun related crime, is that person going to do everything possible, legal or illegal, to obtain the weapon? I mean, there's a lot of statistics that need to be considered. I don't have all those answers. So to say that there's one definitive thing that we should or shouldn't do, either nationally or state by state, that's difficult to say, for at least from somebody like me who doesn't have all the facts. So it does sound though that, I mean, I am a believer though. I mean, I've been a gun owner for a long time, and I've been what I feel is a law abiding gun owner. But I do typically feel that we need to have, and I am very careful how I word this, is not more gun control, but gun control reform, or better gun control, which includes how we investigate individuals before they're able to purchase weapons. I think that is something that needs to be modernized a bit and needs to be more comprehensive. I don't think it is comprehensive enough. And that is something that I definitely hope to see improved and made more appropriate to modern society.
Well, one thing that I was going to say is that, of course, the gunman's defense lawyers are seeking a mental health assessment, and so you are right, Nick, that the owner of the store that sold him a gun says he passed a state background check, and I think it was like he bought the gun like 6 days before the shooting. And so I think that for me, the part of my real issue has been always that I think the defense is always trying to seek mental health as the reason for why, like mental health issues for the reason why the shooter in any situation has.
Well, no, the defense is always seeking to win, to be declared a non-guilty. That's you're missing the fundamental. I mean, the defense in this kind of case, they don't care. The attorney is not looking for a mental health or an evaluation of mental instability. If that's the best way to go to get his or her client the victory in this case, and that's what that individual is going to attempt to do. But that's not, be careful here. That's not the end all be goal of the defense's counsel.
Well, no, absolutely not. But like, I am getting at the fact that it feels like in many cases that these mental health defenses are common as part of building the case. And so I'm not convinced that like the I don't even know the right words, but I'm not even convinced that there's a good way within the parameters of the legal system, especially for a mental health defense case to be built, if that makes sense. Like I have a problem with how these like mental health defense cases are, like how the evidence is gathered to make that as a case.
Well, I think it's important to remember that a lot of these defense attorneys in these situations with violent crime, especially ones that involve a firearm, they're reeling. They are reeling for a counter case against the plaintiff. And a lot of times there is no concrete case to support the defendant's side. So you have to start grasping for these subjective things, which a mental health evaluation is, even physical health evaluation is a very subjective practice. So if you can hinge your testimony on something that is very subjective and rather abstract, you have that's really they're only their last resort. And I think that's why they go to it, because they don't have anything else. They don't have any other solid ground to which to stand. So they go to this mental health aspect because it is still not a very well-known part of medicine, and they try to leverage that because that's the only thing they have to build their counter case.
And I think that it is kind of describe part of my point, Nick, that a lot of many like mental health assessments are very subjective, and so I find it hard in my mind to put a subjective assessment into a court case or any court proceeding where we're told, I guess, in my thought process, that it's supposed to be fair and just and objective, and then allowing these subjective pieces of evidence many times gives a different impression. But Bree, what are your thoughts on just the what the court process for the mass shootings, or like what reforms could maybe be done to make maybe not even like stop not even maybe like direct it toward the stopping shootings, but even maybe direct it toward making people feel safer, that things are going to be done right, and that the outcome will be the correct one.
I think there's so many layers to it. Like, I don't know if there's any one answer. I really think that, like, the whole mental health thing within the court system, like, if they're deemed like mentally unfit or whatever, or they were mentally unsound during certain things, they're still being held accountable for their actions. It's not like they're getting away with it completely. Like, they had to go to a mental institution or something like that. But I think the assessment, like that part, yes, that can be subjective, because there's psychology is so abstract in so many different ways that, yeah, I mean, and I think the court system is really messed up just in general. So it could, I don't know, and I think too that there are people out there like that are abusive, that are mentally ill, that get a hold of guns, that use them against like families, or but they get away with it, or just people being allowed to have guns, or like if they want to, if somebody wants a gun, they're going to find it, whether or not it's legal or not. And I mean, and I say this just because I know personally, like my adoptive family, or my adoptive dad, actually committed suicide, like he shot himself. And this is when he had a restraining order against him. So all his weapons had been taken away. So he actually went down, like underground, and found a gun. Still, it was that easy for him to find. So I don't think that necessarily controlling guns is going to solve the answer, because people are still going to like get a hold of them if they want. And I don't know how to, like, I don't know what the solution is to help like minimize stuff that happen, like the mass shootings, like Atlanta, like Colorado, like every other, like the school shootings. Like, I don't know what the solution is for that.
Yeah.
'Cause
Go
it's
ahead.
just so, I was gonna say, just because it's so layered, like taking like people's rights away is like, I can understand why people want that like
Mhm.
want to be able to have the freedom to have a gun. And then I can see the other side, how people want to be able to control, like to try to diminish the stuff. But I don't know if that's actually like, if that's too so ideal. Like we're not there yet to where we can even have a solution to that.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about, since I work at a college, like we have active shooter training for the employees now, but we don't have drills for the students, but yet, but and I say that because I know there are like active shooter drills at elementary schools and middle schools and
Yeah.
high schools now, but
Yep.
like fortunately, like I count myself fortunate that I haven't had to go through one of the active shooter drills with students yet, and so I I do know though that uh, my college has taken steps to put signs in every classroom, like a 1, 2, 3 step of like big bold letters on a sign by every door of what you should do, like turn off the lights, block the door with tables and chairs and whatever you can, and like create some sort of barrier, but but I don't think that uh, that sort of defense mechanism, like doing something once the shooting is already in play, is really going to be as helpful as some long-term preventative measures. But I don't think that we do have a solution. Um, but to transition here, I do know what we do have, a commercial break. So we have a short commercial break, and then after that, we will transition into a little bit of a lighter topic, but one that I hope that uh, all the listeners enjoy. And Bree, you'll find out that the trivia segment is pretty easy. You'll end up
For who,
you'll end up
John?
winning. What Nick? What was that?
Is that an April
Unbelievable.
Fool already?
Well, no, like because how is that April Fools? You don't win any week. So
Right. So it would be an April Fool's if I did win this time.
yep, it sure would be, but I don't think that will happen.
Yeah, I think it's doubtful as
But I
well.
can guarantee that a commercial break is coming right now. So
All right.
here we go.
Thank you for listening to Funny is Part of My Name. We'll be back with more right after this break.
Now, I have great news. Today is our April Fool's Day spectacular show, and so I have special April Fool's Day trivia.
Just aware, all audience, that it's not actually April Fool's today. So don't be fooled by that. And as usual, though, I am sure I will be the fool after this.
Well,
Rest assured.
well, Nick, this is also the last week of Women's History Month, and so since we've had a guest on the show all month for Women's History Month, I will
Well,
say,
John, we've had all female guests. I mean, we have guests every time, but this month we've had all female ones.
well, yes, but I could have maybe had Stuart on the show wearing a wig, and then maybe that would be a good April Fool's joke. Nick.
Except that I know Stuart's not female. I don't think
Well,
that who would
well, I
have been
mean,
fooled.
but that would be a great April Fool's joke.
Well, then why didn't you do that? Or was that the fool? Like,
I have no idea.
oh,
All right,
right.
Bree. So here's how the trivia works. I'll give you a question, and then if you don't know, I'll give you a hint until until you get it right, and then
He'll essentially just tell you the answer, and you just need to repeat it back.
It's like, oh, okay.
yep, and then if you win, then you'll get a if you get it, you'll get a temporary tattoo, Korean tattoo, like this. So
Oh,
very
wow.
nice.
Oh, that
What do I
Or
get?
you know
What's
what?
my prize?
Since you're in Ohio now, I'll also throw in a Cleveland tattoo.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
but for you, Nick, win or
Yeah, what's
lose,
win
what
or
I
lose?
yeah, win or lose, Nick, I am going to give you this used uh, bag balm lip and skin
Oh, John,
moisturizer.
that's how you transmit coronavirus, by sharing
Well,
chapstick. Come on, are you
well,
kidding me?
there we go, Nick. I just to prove that was used.
Oh,
That's your
yes.
prize, win or lose. So
Wait, John, these prizes
don't
are
you
getting
feel
worse.
loved?
No, not by John. John, these prices get worse every week. In the beginning, it was
Well-
like a year supply of some kind of food I want, but now it's just
well, but this is
secondhand consumables.
but this is the April Fool's special. So maybe the April Fool's joke is that the prize is actually really good this week, Nick.
So what you're telling me is when I ultimately don't win, you'll tell me at the end that I could have won like 3 years worth of Snickers bars, but I don't.
Actually, it was only 2 years, but something like that, Nick.
Oh,
So-
good.
So, Bree, here's your first question. April
Oh.
Fool's Day is celebrated using what?
What kind of question is that, John?
What is that?
Well, there it's one of it. I'd say that one of the two things is hoaxes
Oh,
and
you mean pranks or jokes or?
yeah, pranks and jokes. Yes, very good, Bree. So that 500 points. So
That was
one
the most poorly worded question I've ever heard.
well,
And that's saying a lot with you, John.
Well, you know what, Nick, there's not much I can do about this because I have a website that
Maybe that's the problem, is you just go to the wrong websites to find these trivia questions. You're not going to very reputable ones.
well, this one at least gives me a difficulty level, and that one was labeled easy. So this one is labeled very hard, Nick. So when was the last time Easter Sunday and April Fool's Day occurred on the same day in the 20th century?
In the 20th century. Okay, so anything in the last 20 years doesn't count. Oh, well, I was going to, okay. So essentially, when was the last time prior to 2000 that Easter was April 1st?
Yes.
I am just going to take a shot in the dark and say 1996.
So close. 1956. So that's
Oh.
minus like 4,000 points. Why
Okay.
not? So,
Wait, what was my starting deficit?
well, you know what? For April Fool's Day, Nick, I didn't give you a deficit this
Oh, I
time.
started out at even 0. Okay, but now I'm at
Yes.
negative $4,000. Okay,
Yes.
pretty
All right,
typical.
Bree. So this is another one. I'm gonna give you an easier one. It says it was labeled easy, but I don't
Easier
actually believe it.
Well, you're not the judge of these.
Well, I mean, okay. So, Bree, April Fool's Day is held on which day in the month of April?
For real? That's the question.
Wait,
Oh,
what was the
yes.
question again, John?
April Fool's Day is held on which day in the month of April?
The first day.
Oh, yes, Bree. That's an extra 40,000 points.
Oh, I'm glad you
So-
found a super easy one.
Well, I mean, what can I say, Nick?
Nothing you can say.
So, Nick, here is your next very hard question here. So, In Spain and Latin America, a day for pranks equivalent to April Fool's Day is held in which month of the year?
April Fool's Day is held in which what?
That's not right, Nick.
No. Repeat the question again.
In Spain and Latin America,
Oh.
a day for pranks equivalent to April Fool's Day is held in which month of the year?
Which month of the year? Okay. I vaguely recollect reading about this at some point. I say August,
So close. It was December.
December, Christmas
And-
Day. So instead of like the kids getting presents, they actually don't. It's like
Well, no, it's actually December 28th, which also
28th.
marks the observance of Holy Innocents' Day, is a traditional day for pranking in Spain and several parts of Latin America. So
it's
there
called
you
Holy Innocents Day.
go. Holy Innocents' Day.
So all you do is you play practical jokes on people, and they call it Holy Innocents Day. That seems a little
Well-
counterintuitive, but I wanna-
Well, that's okay. So,
Sure.
Bree, here is your next question. So, which restaurant chain fooled the public on April 1st, 1998, with the introduction of a fictional sandwich specifically for left-handed people? And I'll tell you that the sandwich was called the left-handed Whopper. So, which restaurant do you think it is, Bree?
Hey, are these questions for real?
No,
Yeah,
that's
they
the
are.
fool right there. That's the joke. They're not real questions.
Burger King.
Oh yes, that's another 80,000 points for you, Bree. So, very good. So, Nick, here is your next very hard question.
Oh, I can't wait.
So, let's see. Which American sitcom once aired an episode entitled April Fool's Day, which was actually about tax day?
American sitcom episode called April Fool's Day, but it was really about tax day. I don't know. Step by Step.
So close, Roseanne.
Roseanne. I should have
That's
known.
minus 160,000 points, Nick.
What? So what's my net score right now? Negative, like
Well,
quarter
I
million,
just,
something like that.
Yes, close enough. So,
An insurmountable deficit is essentially.
yeah. All right, Bree,
Okay.
here is your next question. Now, I'll tell you that they are getting harder and harder for you. So, which
They don't seem to be getting
technological-
harder.
Well,
Bree, do you
they are,
feel they're
Nick.
getting harder?
No, not at all.
Which technological innovation was once famously believed to be an April Fool's Day prank? And I'll give you a hint, is that it's the name of the email program that Google has.
Wait.
It starts with a G and has the word mail in it somewhere.
I know what the answer is, but
I'm not. Wait, yeah. I know you're saying Gmail, but
Oh, that's
that was
correct, Bree. Yeah, so Gmail
I'm
was
confused.
so
Well,
am I.
the history is that Gmail was launched on April 1st, 2004. So at that time, many people thought it was a hoax for a webmail service to offer a whole gigabyte of free storage,
Interesting.
But it was actually real when they
but it was
released
actually
then?
real.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting, Nick?
No, I sure, I suppose.
Well, I mean, what can I say? So
I didn't
think
have a
that-
Gmail account until maybe I
that
don't know, a few years after
we-
that.
Yeah, I think that I want to give you the hardest one possible, but I don't know if I feel like you might actually get this one right.
Oh,
So-
John, nobody believes the false sense of confidence you try to give me.
All right,
Not real.
so in 2015, Nick, which company held an unbelievable April Fool's Day special many believed was a prank, but it wasn't?
What do you mean by an April Fool's Day special?
Well, it's a special that is like a special deal, like a promotion.
A
And it was
sale.
and okay,
Yeah.
and it was actually fake.
No, it wasn't.
It was real, but people thought it was fake.
Right.
Okay, so it's probably some type of retail or 2015 Target,
So close, Nick. It was BMW.
BMW.
So in 2015, a BMW dealership in New Zealand advertised an April Fool's Day special, which promised to swap a new car for an old model to the first person who brought one in, along with a coupon. So a woman named Tiana Marsh responded to the ad and walked away with a new BMW car in place of her 15-year-old Nissan. So, I mean, that's great, isn't it?
I suppose, until she realizes she can't afford the insurance on it.
Well, that's okay. All right, Bree, you get our last question. So on April 1st, 1996, American restaurant chain Taco Bell tricked outsiders into believing it had purchased which historical monument that is a famous bell in the
Oh,
United States.
wait, a bell that's in the United States? The Liberty Bell?
Yes, that's correct, Bree. That was labeled very hard. So you outdid
That was labeled very hard.
you outdid Nick, and Nick, you lost again.
Yeah,
But-
nothing else is new. That wasn't there was no April Fool with that, John. I feel like you didn't keep to your theme.
Well, you know what, Nick? The real joke is that you get this bag balm.
So I get your coronavirus infested used lip balm.
Well, all I can say is that I got the vaccine.
That doesn't mean you're not a carrier, though.
Well, I mean, I could be, but you'll never know until you try this bag balm, right?
Let it sit for like 72 hours without you using it again. That way I know any COVID on it is dead.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay.
But Nick, if you would like, I'll give you one last chance to redeem yourself.
What do I get to redeem if I get this right? Not that I'm going to.
Well, I mean, your prize is the same, win or lose.
Oh, then just don't drag me through this agonization of it. Come on,
Then-
spare me the dignity here.
All right, I'll do that. So then, after the break, we'll talk about our last topic of the night. And Bree, you're more than welcome to stay, because the last topic of the night is always about the most recent news from Korea. So I have some good ones tonight. At least I think that they're pretty exciting about things.
Is that an
coming out
April
of-
Fool?
Well, you might think that some of these things are April Fool's jokes, like some of the inventions that we talked about earlier, but they're really not. So,
Oh, please not that levitating vinyl record player again.
oh no, it's better than that, Nick.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to the break so that the listeners can get that bad taste out of their mouth of your awful loss.
No,
All right,
that's just
so-
the chapstick.
Well, I mean, you don't even have the chapstick yet. So what can I say?
They can still taste it.
Listening to Funny is part of my name. We'll be back with more right after this break.
All right. So here is the first story. Actually, I'll read both of them at once, and then you can both comment on either one that you want. But Samsung is actually doing two cool things recently. So the first is that Samsung has partnered with Irish drone delivery company Mana to bring drone delivery of small electronics like phones and smartwatches to a small town in Ireland. So the residents of the small town will receive their devices within 3 minutes if they order from Samsung's Irish online store. So the drones can travel at speeds of over 60 kilometers per hour, and they will only operate within a 2 kilometer radius from their dispatch center. So the other story is that Samsung is working on adding a double folding phone to its lineup. The phone will fold into 3 segments using 2 hinges. The design is still being finalized, but the screen will likely have a more standard aspect ratio compared to the Z Fold, making it easier for app makers to design for. And Samsung might be skipping a new Galaxy Note this year as chip shortages have affected the entire industry and may cause delays in device releases. So, Bree, which one do you think is the more exciting story, the drone delivery or the folding phone?
I'm not sure. Hasn't the drone delivery thing? I thought that's been like kind of floating around for a while. Like, people have been talking about that for a while, haven't they? Like the past year or two. I had thought. I didn't.
Yeah, so like people in the town in Ireland have already been able to order groceries and medicines to be delivered by drone since last year, but this was the first time that they've also been able to get small electronics delivered also.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think that's cool. I don't know. It seems kind of weird too. I don't know. It seems like there could be a lot of like liabilities or something having drones fly around like that. But the concept of it is cool.
Yeah, like I actually heard that Domino's is delivering pizzas by drone in certain parts of the country. Now, I mean, I would love to get a pizza like brought to me by a drone. Like, why not, right? So, Nick, what are your thoughts on these two stories?
I'm more interested in the threefold phone. I think it kind of integrates having the compactability of a flip phone, but it sounds like when you fold it out all the way, though, it has a screen more reminiscent of your normal smartphone, which I think people will enjoy because it'll still give them that larger screen. And then I think you said the app developers will have an easier time developing the software for it because it's going to more closely emulate the aspect ratio of a smartphone, which most of the apps are designed to fit now. Yeah, I'm interested to see because I know they have that threefold. And is it Samsung that has that threefold phone already?
They have
Somebody does.
They have a folding phone, but I don't think that their current phone is in 3.
I thought somebody already has a threefold. Maybe it's Motorola. I thought somebody had one already, but the total screen size was a little bit limited though.
I think that's called a flip phone, Nick.
No, something that came out recently. No, not something from like 2003.
Well, you know what? That's okay.
Sure.
So this is an interesting story here. So I don't know if either of you have follow a lot of North Korean news, but the headline here, and this was actually a story from earlier today, but forget planes. South Korea wants to ride a North Korean railway to the Olympics. Seoul's unification minister wants North and South Korean athletes to pull up to the Beijing Olympics together. And so that would be the 2022 Beijing Winter Games. So this railway would pass through North Korean land. And so this idea is actually more than a decade old, but there's, of course, only 10 months until the Beijing Olympics. So what are your thoughts on this one? Nick, why don't you go first on this?
I think it would be good to, I mean, if I think I have to imagine the primary goal of it is for some positive PR around better unification between the two halves of the Korean Peninsula. I guess who's the proposer of this?
So yeah, so it's the South Korean government, but
Okay.
I will say though, of course, the issue is going through the demilitarized zone because, well, here's
Yeah.
a quote from the article. Picking North Koreans up and then going to Beijing together, that's the dream, which is what the Seoul's former unification minister said. But the most important factor here is the United States. Even if North Korea gets on board with the train, the final say on whether the train will be allowed through the DMZ is with, unfortunately, the U.S. Forces Korea Command. So this is all really partially, even if the North Koreans wanted to get on the train with the South Koreans, not even feasible with the cooperation of the United States. So do you have any additional thoughts now, Nick?
I tend to think it's not ultimately going to work. And honestly, you know what I personally feel is going to be the biggest hindrance to it is I don't think the athletes want to travel from wherever in South Korea, especially because it's further, to Beijing on a train. I think they're going to, I mean, I don't know how long that train ride is, but it's probably not like a split second. I mean, it's got to be several hours. And I just think that as professional athletes, they're going to want to fly because it's faster and more convenient than taking a train. So I just think that's going to be the biggest hurdle to trying to arrange something like that. And then you add on all the diplomacy related stuff that is going to be a challenge. And I think it's ultimately going to fall through.
Bree, do you have any thoughts on the story here?
I agree. I feel like we're not quite they're not there yet. I think there would actually need that border not to be there in order for that to happen, just because there's so much politics at that border. It is such a political border. And I feel like even if they said, yeah, you can come through DMZ, we don't, as much as they like to keep North Korea locked down, I don't know how comfortable they would like even a train going through their whole country to get to China. Like I don't foresee that. Also now I'm just thinking about it too, because they may say, oh, defectors could hop on that train or that could aid forward too. I don't know. This is just coming
That's a
to my
good
head
point.
as I'm thinking about that.
No, I like that last point. That's good.
I don't foresee that happening. And then I think Nick had a good point about the whole train ride versus an airplane ride. I think South Korea's idea is like they're still trying to push that whole like we want to reunify with North Korea. And I think that's beautiful. I just think that there's a lot of steps that need to be taken before that is actually.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think the novelty behind it is more appealing than the practicality, at least right now.
Yeah, I mean, I knowing that, like knowing the history of that actual like train station that used to run all the time, like because the article also says that the train would depart at from Seoul Station, head to the enter Korean border station of Daransan, cross the DMZ, head toward North Korea's capital city of Pyongyang, and then after the North Koreans get on board and join the South Koreans delegation, the train would head to what is it? I think that there's a misspelling in this article, but anyway, a city, a North Korean city at the border of China, and so of course, right, if a lot of North Korean defectors like leave through that northern like border in North Korea into China, and so I think that the barrier really is at the DMZ, not the like going from North Korea into China. So like I do think that it would be a very symbolic moment. I agree with the article in that sense if it happened, but I think you're right. It's not going to happen, especially with just 10 months to go. So, so guess what, Nick?
Yes.
It's
What am I
time
guessing?
for your final joke, and I won't even say
Before or after a commercial break?
Well, I'm after the commercial break. Why not? Actually, you
Why
know
not?
what, Nick? Why don't you just tell everyone now and put everyone out of their misery, and then we can we can close out the show with some closing music.
Oh, good. You're so kind to me. All right, you ready for this, John? I mean, trickster. John, what happens when a tree poops? Or what do you get when a tree poops?
Well,
Or
all
Bree,
I
you can
can
answer
say,
too.
yeah, go ahead, Bree, because I don't think that this is really a joke. So I'll let you guess first.
I need to think about that one for a second. I
What
don't
do
know if
you
I'm a
get?
perfect fit. I'm not sure.
What do you get when a tree poops?
Leafy shoots.
No.
Well, that was my only guess, Nick.
Okay. Well, it wasn't very good.
Well, I don't know what to say to that, but
You don't have to say anything. Enough has already been said.
all right. So what was this supposed joke of yours, Nick?
So what do you get when a tree poops? A number 2 pencil.
Well, actually, Nick, did you know, and this is a side note, did you know that today is National Pencil Day, Nick?
I did not know, but that worked out coincidentally well.
So the only reason why I actually know that is because I got a spam email today from Staples. So
Okay.
I don't really, I'm not planning to go to Staples now after they sent me the spam email, but
Well, it's also 11 at night, but
well, I mean, I could still get the deal from Staples website, I think.
yeah, okay. All right.
But they were giving away a free 12-pack of pencils with every purchase today in honor of National Pencil Day.
Good.
Yep. All right. And you know what else is good? The fact that we're finally done and I'm going to get to go eat my dinner now, Nick. So
Finally.
all right. Have a great week, everyone. And hopefully Nick's jokes are better next week. And thank
They
you for
won't
being
be.
on the show, Bree.
Thanks
And
Thank you,
was-
Bree.
It was
Have a
great.
good night.
Bye.
You've been listening to Funny is Part of My Name. Please visit www.johnoaks.com for resources and recordings from past episodes. And don't forget to join us back here next Monday for an all-new episode.